Welcome everyone to day 3 of the Academics for Black Survival and Wellness Week. And special shout outs to each and every one of you who are coming to this conversation for Black wellness and survival. So we're so excited to be in community and be with other Black folks and focusing on our healing and our wellness. And day 3 is especially around self-care. So self-care Sunday and adding rest to our calendar. So that is our theme. And we are going to intro the day and give you a little bit of a teaser, so to speak, for some of the conversation and some of the vibe that we're going to have. For introductions, I am Dr. Kimberly Burdine. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am a licensed psychologist and work at the University of Texas at Dallas in the Student Counseling Center. I am an assistant director and training director there.
And my name is Dr. Valine Whitaker. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a psychologist and the Military Sexual Trauma Services Coordinator at the Edith Norris Rogers Memorial VA Medical Center, which is in Bedford, Massachusetts.
So just to give a little bit of a sense of the vibe that we want for Self-Care Sunday, we want to focus on rest, restoration, resisting the urge to do. We want to focus on stillness, and we also understand how difficult that is for us in the times that we're in. And so while we want to focus on giving you resources and making sure that you are feeling some of that healing and restoration, we also want to engage in some dialogue and some conversation, and so that we can talk about our experiences of self-care and some of the challenges that come up. And so we're going to do some self-reflection and also engage one another and talk a little bit about what it's like to engage in self-care. So we want the vibe to be all about us and all about our wellness. And so even if this is the only thing that you do and you want to even push pause right now on this video and call it, and that be what you do to engage in self-care, then we celebrate that and we encourage that. So please do you, and because you know what you need, right? And so that's the vibe and the intention for today. And we also want this to be woven into all of this week and help you to create a practice that extends beyond this day. And so that's the vibe, that's the flavor. And then Valine, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe some of the things that they can expect?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Kim mentioned, we're really trying to keep things low key today. We don't have a whole bunch scheduled because we want to leave it open for you all to do whatever you want and need as part of your self-care practice. We are going to have a little bit of a social media challenge. So we'll have some community building around that related to self-care. We're also going to have a live discussion with a psychologist later on today about self-care practices. And the nice thing about that is that we really hope it'll be an opportunity for folks to engage and make their own comments and ask their own questions. And then we're going to wrap up the day with a little bit of connection time. And we'll give folks an opportunity to convene for a Zoom meeting and do some of their own self-care assessments and have some discussion and build some community around self-care practices. So we're really excited for all the stuff we have to bring you today. Today.
Awesome. So like we mentioned, we wanted to give a little bit of a teaser and kind of what our palette for some of the discussion that we hope folks can have today. And so curious, maybe as a question for you, Valine, How are you right now defining self-care? You know, what does it look like? And maybe even thinking about, you know, if there's ways that identity and roles and responsibilities influence that. But just curious what self-care looks like for you.
Yeah. Um, I said it before, I'll say it again. It's a complicated question. It's complicated, which is interesting because I feel like self-care practices, when I talk to my clients about it, we talk a lot about self-care being simple, being any one small thing that you do for yourself, some way to show kindness or compassion to yourself. And that's really what I think of when I think of self-care. Um, you know, I feel like for the world we're living in right now, it's such a turbulent time. We're on high alert for a number of reasons. We're dealing with multiple pandemics. We're dealing with the coronavirus. The Rona's out there, trying to figure out what to do about that. And then also we're dealing with just ongoing highlighted experiences of racial violence happening in our communities. And not that that's new, but it's still a lot. We're still we're still kind of trying to grapple with all of that. And so finding time for self-care in the midst of all that is happening can feel really challenging, but it's also incredibly important. I think one thing that we've been talking about has been the role of stress as part of this whole process. And there is some intentionality around this Wellness Week activity, series of activities, because we are intentionally wanting Black folks to take some time to rest and recharge and focus on what they need and what they want for this next week, and to hand off the labor to allies and accomplices. The reality is that dealing with all of this stress, our bodies are not meant to be under continual stress like this. And when I think about just even, trauma and the concept of trauma, the reality is that that's a stress response, but it's a heightened stress response um, uh, with respect to, life-threatening situations. We we need to have some period of rest and recharge. And so self-care is incredibly important in that respect. We're not meant to be on high alert all the time. And the reality is, being Black in America so often is about being on high alert all the time. So it can be hard sometimes to take that step back and focus on self-care. Um, and I think for me, again, it's just trying to find some ways to show some kindness to myself. I think about the work of some of our colleagues. Shout out to the psychologists doing the Psychology of Radical Healing Collective. And the fact that self-care sometimes needs to be a little bit radical, and it can be radical in its simplicity too. So it's probably kind of a little bit of a long answer. The same question to you, Kim. How do you define self-care? What do you think of when you focus on self-care?
I think one of the things that stands out is it being a radical notion because of, and especially when we look at academia and university culture, it was not built for us. And so the notion that we would be able to engage in it and also feel healthy, that we'd also be able to rest, it does feel radical. And for me personally, it feels like so counter to what my natural inclination is. And, some of that I think is maybe just who I am, but I come from working class background, and that's just what we do. My family, we work hard. It's a part of, and it's also a part of what I love about myself too. I love not being a stranger to hard work, and I can, I can definitely be in that lane. And so self-care for me is something that I have to be extremely intentional about. And it is something that I have to have people in my life to hold me accountable to. So a lot of my self-care is about being in community and doing for community. It feels, as much as it is also work, feels good for me and caring for me and restorative for me to be able to reach out to other faculty and staff on campus, Black faculty and staff on campus, reach out to student leaders and organizers and create just healing spaces for them, that it fuels me, you know. And so there's parts of me that feel really energized by being able to do that work. And I need the people in my life to tell me, like, you know, maybe step back from that. Do you have to be the one that does it all, right? And this notion that being thoughtful about recognizing that when I am laboring without the self-care and without the boundaries and all of that, that also is a part of the internalized white supremacy and internalized inferiority, and that I am supposed to be of service to other folks. And so that helps me to rest and to pause when I reflect on that being a tool and a part of how I am, you know, you know, the weathering and all of that being a part of what I need to pay attention to, and thinking about health disparity, you know, for myself, even a person who, you know, is certainly privileged, you know, economically and in terms of, you know, citizenship status and a lot of other things, right? But in what I can do and what I have control over, rest being one of those things. And also, you know, just creating opportunities for myself to be able to build that in. And so it does mean some boundaries and saying no to some other things so that I can be sustained for this work, for the healing work. And we have such incredible roles in being on the, you know, the front line as, you know, folks who are healers in a time like this. I have to rest so that I can get up and do it again. So
100% true.
Yes, so we could obviously keep talking, and we hope that you all are able to think today as you're going throughout the day and, you know, making decisions about what to tune into or what to participate in, that you're also, you know, reflecting on what you need. You know, what would self-care look like for you, and how is that connected to, you know, who you are in the world and your identities, and making sure that you are thinking about developing a self-care practice that is that's accessible to you and is accessible to your responsibilities, to your roles, and to who you are in the world. So we thank you for your time and really look forward to seeing you throughout the day. You'll see our faces as folks who are helping out throughout the day. So we can't wait to see you later, and please take good care.
Bye, everyone.